back to Linda's Pantry, and today, as you see in the title, we are canning again, and I'm super excited about this. I've got plenty of chicken, I think, on the shelf, although I may do some more chicken. If I need to fill the canning jars, I will fill them with chicken. But today, the main focus is beef. Beef prices are going up tremendously, and I bought some of this a while back before this all started, and these chuck roast, and I've got them all cubed up in nice big cubes, so it'll be great for stew, enchiladas, beef stroganoff, just beef tips and noodles, and I'm gonna do it this time in a spicy broth. Usually I do a wine broth, but this time I want to do a spicy broth with lots and lots of onions, and this will just add so much flavor to it. I'm super excited to bring this for you. So garlic, onions, beef broth, and I'm gonna par cook my meat. You know me, if you follow me for any length of time, the only raw pack that I do anymore is bone and skin on chicken legs and thighs. I don't care for it. It's just my preference. That's why they have both versions in the ball canning book. So I'm following the guidelines through the FDA and the National Home Food Preservation website. So for meat in quart jars, it's gotta be 90 minutes. And for my elevation and altitude, it is 10 pounds of pressure, PSI on the canner. And I have my canner over there ready to go. It's got 3 inches of water per the instructions for my All-American 921 canner. I'll leave a link for that canner down below. 3 inches of water and about, honestly, 3 tablespoons of vinegar. That's just enough vinegar to keep the sediment from collecting on the jars. And if it does, it's very easy when you wash your jars with hot soapy water, add a little vinegar to your soapy water. And it comes right off. It doesn't take much. But it doesn't tarnish your rings and break them down. If you put too much vinegar in your water, it's going to tarnish and break down your rings, and you don't want to do that. They're not made that well. So anyway, all right, let's get to canning. Want to? Okay, so I've got my meat. This is 2 roasts that I've cut up in pretty good sized chunks. I'm going to put down pepper, salt and pepper. That's all I want to season the meat with. The broth is going to season it further, and it's going to be a spicy broth. I cannot wait. So salt and pepper, pretty generous, and I'm going to turn this meat so it'll coat on the other side. And then salt, and excuse the dishwasher in the back, but I'm doing my canning jars and getting those all cleaned up, hot and ready. And I'm using 1.5 pint jars today, so I'll have to can it for the 90 minutes it calls for, because there's no timing for 1.5 pint jars yet. So there you go. I'm just going to turn this all over, and I left all the juices. They're going to concentrate in the bottom of this pan as well, and they're going to be added to my broth. And then while this is cooking off in the oven, I'm putting it in a 425 degree oven to roast off. I'll have to move it around a little bit because it's pretty crowded, but I will roast it off, get a little bit of brown on it, and bring it back. It's gonna need plenty of salt. All right, you gotta love it. Yum. All right, let's get our beef in the oven and brown that off and get it ready to can. I'm gonna cut up my onions and make my broth, so I'll bring you back for that. Okay, so I've cut up 3 onions. Well, a couple of them were cut on the small side, 1 large one. So you just cut them up into they're gonna break apart. So I've got my pot here, and this is a 5-quart pot. So we're gonna bring that over, get our onions down in there. This is easy. You don't really have to saute or caramelize these if you don't want to, and this time I'm not going to. Then I'm not adding any butter or anything like that, because there's gonna be plenty of fat with the beef, right? Oops, sorry. You can't see that. I have an onion down and 2 hit the floor. Okay, so we'll get those off to the side. And And this recipe, the base of this recipe comes out of the all new, well, it's the Ball Canning book, the newest one, the newest version, and for canning and preserving. I want a good healthy 2 tablespoons of fresh garlic, and I chop that down in my little chopper from Tupperware, and the link's down below if you want to get yourself one. And then it comes with the lid so you can store it. This is easy. It takes 2 seconds to chop a whole thing of garlic, and then I have it for the whole week for recipes. Okay. Now, it calls for 2 tablespoons. I felt like mine could be a little hotter from, you know, the last time, so there we're going, that's a healthy 2. We'll do another, so 3 tablespoons of red pepper flakes, and then Mexican oregano, which my little container is getting low. I'm gonna do 2.5 tablespoons of the Mexican oregano in there. Yum. Worcestershire sauce, and we'll just eyeball it and say we're giving it a good 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. Okay, 2 tablespoons of that. And then I had about 1/3 of a container or jar of the Better Than bouillon, and I added hot water to it to dissolve it, and now I can add some more water, and I'll re-up when I go to Costco. I always keep one in the back for the next time, but now we're gonna fill this up with water and make that spicy broth, get it on the stove and simmer it, and once it's hot and the beef is done, we're gonna start jarring it up. Okay guys, it is time, finally. So the beef, somebody's gonna ask me, I know. The beef was in the oven for about an hour. This is chuck roast, so it's nowhere near tender, but it's cooked enough that I feel like I've got a good broth in here. And I'm gonna load my jars. My jars have been tempered. Oops, I need my funnel. My jars have been tempered. I've got hot water in the sink, like really hot water in the sink. And they've been through the dishwasher. They don't have to be sterile. They're gonna get sterilized in the canning process. Anything over 10 minutes in the canner, whether it's water bath or pressure canning, is sterile. So I'm gonna load my jars to about 3/4 of the way full. I kind of want to, you definitely want an inch of headspace, so I don't want these too full, if that makes sense, okay? So just like that, go ahead and shake it down, and this is enough meat for 2 people, and then there's room for that spicy broth with the onions, because I want that on top. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take your debubbler, push your meat down, grab that, get some spicy broth in here. I've got everything set up. Probably too far away. Let's put it closer. And I want some onion in there. You'll probably have to go ahead and, you want an inch of headspace when you're done. Yum, perfect. Get your debubbler again. Make sure that you've got plenty of broth in there, because you want the meat completely covered with broth. I'm a stickler on that. I don't think there's any other way to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe the rim of my jar. I'm using all Tatler lids today because a lot of you have been asking, and oh my gosh, that's beautiful, just the way it is. Whether I like the Tatlers or not, yes I do. I love them actually. And these are reusable. I'm not putting lids or anything in the landfill. These are brand new gaskets and lids, so I have put one mark on the gasket so I know how many canning sessions it's been through. So you're gonna go ahead with your, tighten it down and then back it off just a smidge, and the canner we go. And that's per the instructions for this. I've got a pretty good feel for these now. It just takes some practice, that's all. In the canner it goes. And look how beautiful and rich that broth looks already. It's just gorgeous. All right, in the canner. My canner is on, but it's only about 180 degrees. I don't want it too hot because I don't want to thermal shock my jars. Even though they're hot, you want to bring it up a little bit slower. Okay, we'll get the rest of these filled and maybe we'll fast forward through it. Down off of pressure pretty quickly. Actually, it takes, I would say, an honest 45 minutes to come down, and when you take the weight off, you have no more hissing. You might have a little, but not. It shouldn't be more than 2 seconds worth. Otherwise, you're going to get siphoning, so you don't want to do that. And I do see something siphoned a little bit in the canner. Ooh, and all my lids look like they're sucked down tight. That's a good thing. I am going to tighten the tattlers as I take them out, but don't. Ooh, they're so pretty in the jar. And this now has sat with the lid on like that for about 15-20 minutes. I don't rush any of this. So there you go. Look at that. I don't know if you can really see it well, but it looks beautiful. And now I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down. I need to grab another dishcloth. There we go. So you just tighten it down, and if you hear any hissing at all, don't do that. Don't touch the jar. It's not worth it to touch a jar that is hissing or doing anything unnatural. All right, okay, so I'm gonna get all of these out of the canner and tighten those down. Oh my gosh, they smell so good. It smells like the best pot roast on the planet. And yeah, but I did get some siphoning. I'm not sure which jar. Oh, could it be that one? Oh, maybe. Hold on. One of them broke. That's why. One of my jars, which I'm shocked because thermal shock, I rarely have it. Now I've had 2 in the last month. I know why I had the other one, but these jars were hot. Everything was hot. Maybe it was just time for this jar. Anyway, that's okay. That's encouraging that it's not siphoning. So I'm going to get the rest of these out of the canner. I'll have 7 1.5 pint jars, and doggone it, what a waste of meat. I'll probably get the meat out of there and rinse it off a little bit and give it to Shotzi because I don't want to waste it completely. All right, guys, I hope this inspires you to try your hand at home canning. Know that in the times that we're in right now, we need to be learning new skills and actually putting things back on our pantry shelf that we haven't done. And if you ever need some canning tutorials, I've got almost 200. So, all right, I'll see you next time for another delicious recipe, probably using this home canned beef. So I'm going to leave you a thumbnail picture on this video after I get the rings off, and these are done, you know, actually sitting overnight. And I always check them before I go to bed, though. I take the rings off before I go to bed in a few hours and make sure that everything's sealed, because if I left that beef out on the counter till morning and found out, it's no longer any good to eat. So you don't want to do that. And I want to say, never, ever, ever leave your jars in the canner overnight and bring them out in the morning because you're too tired. You'll get what's called flat sour. Flat sour is not good. It doesn't, the food is edible, but it's got a bad taste, a sour taste. It should not stay at that temperature for long periods of time. So anyway, all right, guys, I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe. And yeah. We'll see you next time. All right, bye. Guys, I had to come back on here. This is the next morning after this canning session. I just washed my jars up. All of them have perfect headspace right at the bottom rim there. All of the jars have sealed. I mean, I can pick each and every jar up by the rim. That one broken jar, you know what? It happens. I don't know what happened. Maybe that jar was a little cooler when it went in the canner. Who knows? Because as your broth sits there, I've thought about this all night. As your broth sits there, it does cool down a little bit. So I guess next time making sure those jars are really, really hot. But perfect headspace, looks delicious. Nothing is stuck to the sides of my jars. When you look at this, you go, oh, that looks like delicious roast beef with onions and garlic, and I can't wait. So guys, I truly hope this does inspire you to go ahead and try your hand at home canning. Let's get some stuff put up back on the shelf. And this is for 2 people, or 3 actually, depending on what you paired this with, and what you make with it. When I do something with it, I will definitely bring you along, because I have quite a few things that I use this in, but I'm excited about the spicy broth instead of the wine broth I usually use. So we're looking at 7 delicious meals put back. They're shelf stable. I have them for as long as I need them. I rotate my pantry every 3 years, so if I don't get to them for a couple of years, I'm still okay. All right, guys, down below I've got a link just in case you're not a canner and you're not a gardener and you don't want to get into this. I do have a link to my Thrive website where you can go over and check out some freeze-dried foods that will give you a shelf life of up to 25 years. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye. Happy canning.